The house that waits. The road to Ashford Hollow had long been abandoned by travelers, swallowed by weeds and cracked asphalt. Locals whispered that the town had once thrived, but after a single winter storm decades ago, families left, homes rotted, and the land itself grew hostile. Travelers avoided the place not because of wild animals or treacherous terrain, but because the town itself seemed to breathe, as if its spirit resented the living. Marcus Kane, a freelance journalist always chasing obscure stories, came across Ashford Hollow in a dusty archive. The accounts were vague: disappearances, shadows moving across abandoned houses, rumors of a church bell that rang at midnight though no one lived there. It was exactly the kind of tale that could earn him recognition. He packed his camera, recorder, and flashlight, driving alone into the wilderness where the road thinned to gravel. By dusk, the hollow appeared. Houses slouched under the weight of vines and moss. Windows were shattered, roofs caved in, and yet the silence felt orchestrated, like a pause before a performance. Marcus parked his car at the outskirts, took a deep breath, and began to walk. His boots crunched against gravel, echoing louder than they should have. Even the wind refused to stir. The first house he entered was skeletal, walls gnawed by mold, a staircase broken halfway, furniture collapsed under decades of neglect. His flashlight beam revealed children's toys scattered in the dust, plastic cars, a stuffed bear missing its head, blocks arranged into a crooked tower. He raised his camera to snap a photo, but the instant the shutter clicked, the tower of blocks toppled over with a hollow clack. No breeze had touched them. He told himself it was coincidence, yet unease prickled along his spine. Upstairs, he found a bedroom still intact, the wallpaper peeling in strips but the bed neatly made. On the pillow lay a porcelain mask, smooth and expressionless. When Marcus lifted it, he swore it was warm, as if it had been worn just moments before. He dropped it, heart hammering, and the mask cracked across the cheek. A faint whisper brushed past his ear. "Fix it?" The recorder in his pocket hissed to life, though he hadn't touched it. He yanked it out, staring at the glowing red light. The tape spun though he hadn't pressed record. A distorted voice rasped through. "Stay!" Shaken, Marcus stumbled outside, his breath fogging in the unnaturally cold air. He scanned the hollow. Every house stood dark except for one. At the far end of the street, a single light glowed behind the windows of an old chapel. Compelled, though he couldn't explain why, Marcus walked toward it. Each step seemed to sink into the earth, as if unseen hands dragged at his ankles. The chapel's wooden doors loomed before him, carved with strange symbols not dulled by time. He pushed, and they opened without resistance. Inside, pews lined the aisle, warped but intact. At the altar, candles burned with black flames, casting shadows that twisted against the walls. A bell rope dangled in the corner, swaying though the air was perfectly still. Marcus raised his flashlight toward the altar. Behind it, a tall figure stood, its face obscured by darkness, its arms too long, its posture patient, like something waiting for him to speak first. His voice cracked. "Who's there?" The candles guttered violently, and the figure tilted its head. The rope swung harder. The bell above clanged once, the sound sharp enough to rattle Marcus's bones. And then came the voices. A dozen whispers filled the chapel, overlapping, climbing over one another in a crescendo of urgency. "Stay, stay, stay." Marcus stumbled backward, tripping over a pew. His flashlight clattered to the ground, spinning its beam across the figure. For a fraction of a second, he saw its face, empty sockets, a mouth stretched wider than any human jaw, its skin tight as parchment. He fled, bursting into the night air, but the hollow had changed. The houses no longer leaned with decay. They stood upright, whole, lanterns glowing faintly in the windows. He could hear life inside them, children laughing, dishes clinking, voices murmuring. Yet no one appeared. The town seemed alive again, but wrong, as if history had been rewound with errors baked into the fabric. His car was gone. The road he had driven collapsed into endless fog. Panic surged through him. He ran down a side street, past houses that looked whole until he drew near, their windows suddenly empty black holes, their doors yawning wider with each glance. Everywhere he turned, the whispers followed. Some came from the ground, some from the walls, some from within his skull. His recorder vibrated in his pocket until he threw it away, but even lying in the dirt, its light blinked red and the voices continued. Finally, Marcus stumbled into what looked like the town square. In the center stood a well. Around it, statues of townsfolk encircled him, but their poses were twisted, mouths open in screams, arms raised in defense, fingers clawing at unseen threats. As Marcus approached, the statues shifted, their heads turning to watch him. The whispers fell silent. From the well came a deep groan, like the earth itself exhaling. A hand, long and skeletal, gripped the rim, followed by another. The figure that climbed out was the same one from the chapel, its limbs too long, its face an unreadable void. But now, Marcus realized the truth. It wasn't just one figure. The shadows that clung to it shifted constantly, reshaping into dozens of faces, all screaming silently, trapped in its form. Marcus fell to his knees, paralyzed by dread. The figure leaned close, its voice 1,000 whispers braided together. "You are ours now. The hollow keeps what it takes." The statues around the square cracked open, revealing hollow shells filled with ash. One by one, they collapsed, and the ash swirled into the figure until it loomed impossibly tall. Marcus tried to run, but his body refused. Darkness surged from the well, swallowing the square, the houses, the sky. The last thing he saw was his own reflection in the void. A face already hollowed, his eyes black pits, his mouth stretched into silence. When morning came, Ashford Hollow stood empty again. The houses slouched, the chapel sagged, the well lay quiet. Only a camera remained on the ground, its screen cracked, frozen on a single image. Marcus standing in the square, his mouth open in a scream, his body blurred as if dissolving into smoke. Travelers still avoid the road to this day. But sometimes, on nights when fog blankets the valley, a bell rings from the chapel, and a voice lingers in the air. "Stay!"